Oh, what's good, my man in society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Low, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. It don't cost a damn thing. That's how you actually help me get into the algorithm. I'd highly appreciate, your support. Join the madness. Now, what I wanted to get into was one of the internet and YouTube's, talked about issues, right? Seems that a lot of people, preach this, advocate for this, and then you have defenders, sympathizers, and a whole lot in the mix, right? Which is chomos, pedophiles, predators, pedophiliacs, right? Now it's more complex than people think it is, right? Sex offenders are a little bit more complex than what people think, right? Because when somebody hears the word pedophile, they automatically assume that it's somebody that molests kids, right? A child molester, right? When pedophiles have different ways of thinking and doing things, right? Like you have pedophiles that prefer young boys, and then some that prefer young girls, or some that prefer teenage girls, or some that prefer like young youths. You get what I'm saying? Like, so they have their preferences, right? Like there's some out there that just, they only target smaller kids, right? Infants and stuff like that, right? Like the sickness is crazy. Whatever arouses them, right? Which is in itself is right, to the norm, right? To the normal person, like, that's like, what the hell? Like, that's some disgusting shit, because it is. You know what I mean? Now, why it picked up steam now? Like, why is this such an issue now? Because a problem like this should have always been an issue, right? It should have always been an outrage and a cry, and something that should have been, protested against since people have found out that these people exist, right? But that hasn't been the case, right? It's only into recent times that you've seen that now it started picking up steam, and now people get canceled and get targeted because of it, and rightfully so. Shit. Right? Because it's not okay. It's not right. Now, but why is it now just barely picking up steam? Why is it now more of an issue than it was before? Because before it wasn't an issue. I know that people are not pointing this out. I never hear nobody ever talk about this, right? But the truth of the matter is that before it wasn't an issue. The evidence is there. Go look at old TV shows, older movies, older sitcoms, older anything from back in the days, right? Even music, songs from back in the days, right? You go back and you hear those type of songs, or like some oldies, or R. Kelly, age is nothing but a number, or even like movies. A lot of movies and TV shows have a lot of inappropriate interactions between adult males and younger females, right? Like we're talking about teenage girls, right? 13, 14, 15-year-olds, right? Where males are making passes, and it's supposed to be, humor. And people are laughing and applauding this and see nothing wrong with it in those times, right? Because there wasn't an outrage and a cry back then, right? But it exists, right? I mean, you see it in the Disney movies, these adult princes kissing these teenage girls, right? Aladdin wanting to hook up with Jasmine when in itself, that's in itself is crazy, right? But, like people didn't have an issue with it before. And even like I said, like, like you never hear about it like on the news, or it never made media, right? I mean, you had famous actors, musicians, and everything dating underage girls, right? And nobody had an issue with it, right? Because before, and shit, even in some parts of the world, not till now, still allow, underage marriage, which in itself is crazy, right? And even back then, like I said, here, you had a man who's 27 dating a 15, 16-year-old, and there was nothing wrong with that, A lot of people's parents are like 10 years apart in age gap, or grandparents, right? So people didn't see a problem with it before, right? But what changed then? Why is it an issue now? Why has it picked up steam, and why did it become more of an issue now? The reason why now it's more of an issue Because now we have an understanding of the human brain, right? We have now the science and now the understanding of human behavior, human interaction, the human, mindset, right? Process, right? Before, people used to think that a girl became of age, right? Like as soon as she got her period, right? As soon as she, gone to puberty, right? That she before, when people weren't even able to make payments on their land or whatever, they were able to offer up their daughters to whoever was, taxing them. That was a form of payment, and the woman had no say so, right? People, offered their daughters to individuals, kings and shit like that, right? As crazy as that is, right? Um, we're talking about underage, and not just females but males as well, right? Look at, Egyptian, 9-year-old pharaoh had to marry a 35-year-old, cousin. You know what I mean? It was crazy, bro. But the mentality, but that's because people didn't have an understanding back then. They weren't as educated. They had, I get it. People say that, it's common sense. It's common sense to us now because we have been educated now to know the difference, and now we're aware of stuff, right? But before, imagine not having this knowledge, people seeing it as normal because you had no idea what the hell was happening. You weren't educated. You didn't remember before. People didn't have the luxury of being educated, right? Education was only provided to those in high places, right? So everybody else, unfortunately, didn't have the opportunity, of education, right? But now that people are educated, now people are more aware of stuff, right? And as time has gone by, our understanding has gotten better, right? And people now understand that, that you're still a child until you're the age is 18, right? But properly though, the mindset doesn't change until like the age of 21, right? 21, 22, roughly around there, right? That's when you make the transitional, right? When you start developing that part of the brain where now you have the understanding of right from wrong. Now you're able to grasp the actual concepts of scenarios and the understanding of stuff, right? There's a reason why the age is of drinking and all of that is 21, right? Because, they didn't just pull they didn't pull numbers out of a hat, right? Because that's the research that shows that even if now, intoxicated, they have an understanding of their, of what they're doing, right? Compared to when they're a child, they don't have an understanding. They can't control their hormones, right? Because the puberty effect, right? So there's new hormones that they're not used to, they can't control. They're trying to get the hang of it. They're trying to balance it all out, right? Their body's trying to balance it all out. That's why people tend to do dumb stuff when they're younger kids, and why they're more arrogant and hard-headed and stuff like that. There's a reason for that. Now we have an understanding, right, that, that these people were not adults just because they hit, puberty, right? But before, that's what they thought, right? Oh, they could have babies now. They could get pregnant now, so they must be an adult. But that's not how it worked, right? People didn't understand the mentality of things, right? Because now, as we understand that now, when you reach the age of like 22, 23 and all that, when you have that understanding, you are aware and you can manipulate someone that's younger, right? Because someone that's younger is naive, right? They still don't have an understanding. Even the sharpest kid could get taken advantage of, right? Because that part of the brain hasn't developed yet where they have that understanding, right? So it's easy for an adult to manipulate a child, get a child to do what it wants him to do or whatever, right? And so exploiting the child, taking advantage of the child. That's why the child still needs his parents there to guide them, right? And now we have the understanding of that concept when before we didn't. That's why it became an issue. That's why it's an issue, because this is not an adult. This is a child. As people out there always trying to come to the defense. Oh, well, some of them look like they're of age already. Well, they know what they want. And even some girls come out themselves and say, we know what we want. We know what we're getting. No, you don't. You were a child. How's a child going to know? Would you let your 13, 14, 15-year-old go out into the world because they're an adult, because they know what they're doing? No, you wouldn't, right? Because you still have an understanding that they're still a child. So you didn't know what you were doing. You're just saying that. Because you wouldn't let your 15 go out into let them go out into the world. They're adults. They're adults, aren't they? No, you're going to say that, no, they're still children. Exactly. So you didn't know what you were doing. It's so easy for people to try to think that they knew what they were doing or think that they were mature. But you weren't. You were making bad choices. That's the reason why you ended up in the scenario you ended up in. Obviously, you didn't end up in that scenario for right choices, right? So that's still a child who needs his parents and guidance. You know what I mean? So that's why, now people started pushing that and now teaching this to individuals, right? And now we have an understanding. And that's why it's not okay, because it was never okay, right? But before, I get it, they didn't have the knowledge, so they didn't know, right? Even though, like I said, people say it's common sense, but like I said, they weren't as educated. So that's why it's an issue, because it has always been an issue, because it shouldn't be allowed, it shouldn't happen, and you should report any type of behavior like that. You know what I mean? Because an adult should not be trying to, like, click. The only reason why an adult will try to get with a person of that age, right? Because you guys don't have nothing in common, right? Because of the age difference, the big ass age difference in gaps, right? That could only mean that you only want this person, for your signaling, ways, right? To manipulate, to take advantage, to groom. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why they're trying to hook up with somebody that's younger, because what they want what they want to be able to do, they can't do to somebody who's their age, right? Because they already have an understanding, so they're not able to get tricked or anything like that. That's why they want someone younger, because they want to be able to groom them. So it's not done out of love and because they actually care for these people. No, they want to be able to do whatever sick, twisted things they want to be able to do to them. They want to take advantage. You know what I mean? They could try to say that no, that is real love. No, it's not. You want to satisfy your ego, and you want to satisfy your fantasies. I suggest you go seek help, bro, because that's not normal. It's not right. You know what I mean? But yes, that's the reason why there's a push for it now, and why it's an issue now, because people be like, oh, why are people even getting involved? People should just worry about themselves and stuff like that. And it's like, the ignorance is crazy, bro. Children can't defend themselves. You know what I mean? Their innocence. Someone has to stand up for them and defend them. You know what I mean? How are you gonna say just to worry about yourself when we're talking about kids, bro? It's a kid. Do you have no heart, bro? Do you have no feelings? You know what I mean? There's some sickening stuff, bro. And it shouldn't be allowed, and no one should let it slide. Because when you destroy a child's innocence, bro, you literally destroy his life. His chance of being normal. That trauma's gonna go a long way, bro. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, every shadow we are.